Hello guys and gals, and welcome to another episode of Unique Items. Today we're going to be looking at another Sorceress item, and this one is known as Iceheart Brais. The Iceheart Brais is a pair of pants that can drop in World Tier 3, as well as World Tier 4, in Sacred or Ancestral form. It's a little dry there. Now, Iceheart Brais is a interesting unique, but it does have some failings, and we're going to talk about those. So first off, it has the while injured, your potion also restores 20% of your resource passive, which is not my personal favorite. My personal favorite is the one where the potion actually generates a barrier for you. I don't know if I have one of those sitting around here, but that's my personal favorite. This was the one right here. So while injured, your potion also grants a 20% maximum life as barrier, and that goes up to 30% when you upgrade it. Now, Iceheart Brais also has 30 intelligence, so 28 to 42, and that goes, of course, when you upgrade it. We got 7.5% damage to frozen enemies, which does vary between 7 to 14%. It's 27% damage to injured enemies, which isn't really my favorite mod, but it's there. So 21 to 35% there. We also have 5% to freeze duration, which does vary from 5 to 12. So mine rolled pretty bad. This is pretty bad. The legendary effect on the Iceheart Brais is enemies that die while frozen have a 12%, 11 to 20% chance to unleash an additional Frost Nova. Now, basically, how this would work is if you were to go into combat, for instance, and you were to run in here, find some monsters, freeze them with your Frost Nova, and then kill them instantly, there is a chance that they could, of course, release another Frost Nova, essentially making a chain of Frost Novas that could potentially freeze and kill more monsters. And, of course, Frost Nova itself has some interesting effects. So, if you guys are well aware, because if you've played Sorceress, you might already know that Frost Nova is one of the only ways to get some guaranteed vulnerable against monsters. There are some other ways, and I'm playing around with the Ice Blades right now because I want to see if I can get the Ice Blades to make, some nice vulnerable do-janks. They do seem to have a very nice guaranteed vulnerable versus at least one target or two targets, but not quite as good as Frost Novas, which can literally hit an entire, obviously, area around you. And that Frost Nova can, of course, be enhanced in various ways. Now, this doesn't necessarily have to only be used with Frost Nova. Of course, it goes with any enemy that's frozen. So if you're freezing enemies on a regular basis and you kill them, they can have a chance to release a Frost Nova, which, of course, also has the chance, will also make the enemies vulnerable, which is definitely very nice. And killing enemies frozen by Frost Nova reduces its cooldown, so you can basically spam Frost Nova more often. This also has some flavor text, which is the mad artisan saw his fingers turn black from frostbite as he worked the cloth, but refused to stay the needle and thread for even a moment. So basically, this particular piece of armor is very much so set up as a Cascade armor. So if you guys are unfamiliar with how Cascade equipment works, or exponent equipment, or whatever you want to call it, basically how it works is that you cause an effect. The monster is under that effect, can potentially cause another effect, which can potentially cause a second effect of the same effect, and it can continue to chain. And of course, the chances of it chaining infinitely are nearly impossible. But if you go into a group of monsters, Frost Nova them, freeze everything around you, kill them all, they can potentially Frost Nova again, maybe freezing things that are outside the radius of your death circle, which can potentially also unleash more Novas if you kill those when they're frozen, and so forth and so on. And the thing about this is it also increases the freeze duration, which increases the window of time you have to kill the monster. So as long as they are frozen when they die, then you have a better chance of this particular thing happening. Now, let's talk about why this armor is not really the best piece of armor. So, your pants are really like one of the best slots that you have for defensive modifiers. Armor value, damage reduction flat, damage reduction from distant, damage reduction from close, damage reduction while fortified, damage reduction while poisoned, damage reduction while bleeding, blah, 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 blah. There are 100 different modifiers for had damage reduction on pants, and you can quad stack damage reduction modifiers on your pants. You can get armor, you can get DR, you can get DR while fortified, you can get DR while poisoned, or DR while bleeding, and there's tons of different ways that you can make your pants tanky, including, as we talked about earlier, your potion also grants you a maximum life as barrier. So putting the Iceheart Brais on your Sorceress is going to make your Sorceress much weaker as a result. You're going to have less armor, you're going to have less barrier, you're going to have less defenses overall, which means a much more squishy Sorceress. Now, because you are freezing everything, that's definitely nice, and frozen enemies tend to not fight back. So if you can guarantee that the monsters are frozen, well, then you don't necessarily have to worry about getting hit. But the unfortunate side effect of having the pants capable of being able to roll 4 defensive mods means that they are one of the best items on your character in general. Well, thank you, Johnny. To roll for defensive stats. And this means that you're giving up those defenses specifically for this offensive item. Now, in easy content, I'll say this, in easy content, Iceheart Brais is amazing. You will find that the frozen effect and the frost novas coming out will basically make the easy content even easier. But when you get into the harder content, like when you're trying to push higher tiers, I would definitely recommend you go with a tanky set of pants instead of Iceheart Brais, because you're going to find yourself getting one-shot by random monsters because you don't have enough damage reduction to actually absorb the hits. All in all, Iceheart Brais is definitely an interesting piece of equipment. And it can work its way very well into a very nice freezing effect build. It's just not the most optimal in terms of defensive stats. As always, I do appreciate you guys and gals watching my videos, even when we're just talking about Iceheart Brais and the freezing effects. Why do I feel like I need to sing Let It Go all of a sudden? It's frozen, okay? It's freezy, freeze. Lots of freezing. I know this is the professional content that you know and you love. I mean, I know you enjoy this content. You know what? Bye.